Uh, well, ain't this a bitch? Ain't this a bitch? So Donald Trump has all of the hockey players, the men's hockey players, the ones that were yucking it up in the locker room with Cash Patel, the bug-eyed creep, the one who's protecting pedophiles, not making a single arrest, not doing his job. Anyway, they get to the White House and there's videos of them eating cold McDonald's. Just the most miserable scene you've ever seen. It's like, wow, you were so hyped up. Ooh, we're going to go to the White House. Oh, isn't that boy? Yeah, sign me up. Fly me out there tomorrow. I'm there. And then you get there and it's like, ugh. Well, apparently so, the women's hockey team, they got gourmet Italian food from actor Stanley Tucci. He cooked them gourmet food himself. Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine if the women's hockey team had accepted that invitation and they had to sit across from those bastards on the men's hockey team? Can you imagine sitting across from them knowing these misogynist cunts, what they think about you, laughing and hicking with the president, and then you have to sit and endure cold McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's is hardly enjoyable warm. Much, I mean, dead ass cold. Yeah. Well, the story gets even better, folks. Get a load of this shit. Get a load of this shit. So apparently, the cucks that work for the White House, their dream team, their social media gurus, they decided to take one of the hockey players, make an AI video of him calling Canadians maple syrup eating faggots. Upchuck addressed the video. It's not my voice. It's not what I'm saying. I would never say that. That's not who I am. Now, bear in mind if Donald Trump's cuck team had decided to use the women for an AI video, these morons would be laughing it up. But now that they're seen as unpopular, now that they're seen as the scum of the earth, they're like, oh no, 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 no. That's not what I believe. It's not me. I don't want to be associated with this. How does it feel? How does it feel to be the butt end, the ass end of the joke? That's great. That's great. That's how much the Trump administration respects you. They don't. You're disposable, usable, and that's about it. Well, hope you boys have a day. Have the day you deserve. And I hope that's the last gold medal you ever win. Let the women do it. The women have been winning medals left and right. It took us, the men's team, 46 fucking years just to get a gold medal. That's fucking sad. That's just fucking sad. Wow.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something someplace in about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
Well, talk about the face of misery. Can you, I mean, look at these guys. Look at this is them at the White House. This cuck team who thought they would be slick and silly, yucking it up with the president, eating this cold ass McDonald's, because you fucking know that it took them forever just to get it into that room. I guarantee you there was not one bit of warmth left in this food by the time they got to it.
Probably not. Trump probably took his time picking off each pickle and licking all the ketchup off it.
Well, nothing surprises me anymore. I love this cozy shot of these two doofuses. You know.
Yeah, are we gonna talk about McDonald hanging around up in the corner?
Yeah, I missed him the first time around. What the fuck is that doing there? Did they bring their own
mascot
statue to put up? It's like, why is that there?
I have no idea, but I did.
This is the White House
earlier. Mm-hmm. This is the White House. I did notice on your post, and I did say on your post, why is nobody talking about McDonald's in the corner?
Yeah, I didn't.
Hello.
I totally missed the reference because I'm like, I don't know. There's McDonald's all over the table. What do you want? Oh, it's the statue right there.
Did that confuse you? Did my
yeah, it
comment
did.
confuse you?
Not gonna lie. But then I'm easily confused because I'm fighting a cold yet again.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Well, it's my fault. This is what happens when you don't get enough sleep. I love the cozy couple in the right-hand corner.
Yeah.
Though. Isn't that the gayest thing you ever saw?
The only thing that would make it gay if they were hugging like that whilst naked in a shower.
They just need to be a little closer.
Let's be honest.
Hey, you.
Do you know something? As long as it's consenting, they can go off and do whatever they want. As long as they're making decisions that benefit.
Maybe it's non-consensual. That's how they like it.
Ew.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah, face of misery. That's what it is. Anyway, no, that shot did give me joy. So, yeah, they literally embarrassed themselves. I was overjoyed when I heard that they got served homemade gourmet Italian cuisine. That was good. That was neat.
No, that is good. And that is, do you know a fun fact as well? Not only are the girls' hockey team better players, but they've actually won more gold medals in a shorter period of time than what the men's hockey team have done. But
isn't that amazing?
That is amazing, and they have
6 years.
Yeah,
46 years to do what the women have done 4 or 5 times. I mean, they've gotten the gold twice. They've gotten bronze. They've gotten a couple of silvers. I'm like, they've placed 8 different times in that same span. 46 years. Well, actually, no, maybe less time, because I don't think women's hockey. When did women's hockey start becoming a thing? I don't think the women's team has been playing for 46 years. If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong, but that just let's say it was half the time. Let's say the women's hockey didn't get started until the 90s. Let's say. That's still a shorter time span. But does the math work? It's every 4 years. Well, anyway. Yeah, but the women's hockey has placed
1964.
Okay, so they've been around. Okay. All right. Damn. I stand corrected. That's a long time. And the men's hockey, I have to assume, goes further back than that. 1960s women's hockey. I wonder what that was like.
1896.
Holy shit. No. Winter Olympics hockey has been played in the Olympics since 1896. No. So the question isn't how long has hockey existed, but how long has it been a winter sport in the Olympics? That's okay.
Let me start again.
Yeah, we'll have to start over.
Specifics,
Yeah.
mister.
Yes. Specifically. So, yeah, I mean, even so, I mean, it stands to reason that the women's hockey team has been around a lot less longer. I mean, it hasn't been around as long as the men. And again, that's not for lack of can do or able to. That's the misogynist patriarchal pricks at work. But that's another story.
It's saying here 2002, but I'll do a little digger deep.
So the women's hockey has been
Digger deeper. I can't even speak now. I will dig further into it. Never mind.
Good. So women's hockey has been around since 2002. Whoa.
Let me repeat that because I was muted. Ice hockey Winter Olympics has been around since 1920 for the men's, 1924 for the women.
Damn. That is a long ass time.
46 years. 46 years. 46 years for men, and it would be 42 years for women.
All right. Well, so if it's 1920s, that means it's been 100 years. It's 2026 now.
What? 1920? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
100 years.
haven't, yeah, excuse me. I haven't had enough coffee yet. I'm not properly caffeinated.
All right, get it
And
down
I don't know how caffeinated I can get with decaffeinated. So it might take me a minute.
So good. But yeah, but see, even so both teams have been around almost as long as each other. A 4-year gap.
Yes.
That's a
You did,
speck.
yeah.
It's a speck in the time span. That's amazing. And it took until 1980 for the men to win gold medal. That's wild.
Oh no. Yeah. Yeah. The last time the men's ice hockey team won a gold was 1980.
1980.
22nd of February 1980.
And then did they ever place before that, or was that the very first time?
That was the very first time.
Holy shit. Man, we sucked for a long time, didn't we? Well, anyway. But so the point still stands. In between all of that time, the women's hockey have been placing even when the men's team did not. And they thought they were going to be slick and silly by laughing at women's expense. And that backfired oh so deliciously. So, yeah, it's just it's wild, man. It's just wild.
Also, as well, women had a hockey team that they would play tournaments in 1916. And that would be ice hockey. So,
yeah.
they would hold tournaments. 1916, the United States hosted an international hockey tournament in Cleveland, Ohio. that featured Canadian and American women's ice hockey teams. 1916.
Well, well, well. And all that to say this. The men still
Do you
suck.
know? Yeah, do you know the date of the first ever women's hockey team? The hockey games appeared. The
No.
first ever hockey games ever appeared for women, 1891.
Ooh. Yeah, so enjoy your McDonald's, because that's all you're getting.
Do you think they're feeling pucky?
I hope they're feeling fucky pucky.
Sorry, that was my attempt at a bad joke. Puck?
That was
Pucky?
terrible.
Never mind.
By the way, what is
It
going
was.
on in Nantucket? Can somebody tell me?
New testing shows Nantucket's sewer water is filled with cocaine. According to the Inquirer and Mirror, the island's cocaine markers have routinely exceeded national and regional averages. 2 spikes in October and December reached nearly 3 times the national average. Nantucket's health director says the data will help provide their behavioral health partners with actionable information.
What is going on? What's in the water in Nantucket? Well, we know what's in the sewer water. Cocaine. A lot of cocaine. Wow.
Would this be Nantucket, as in like the girl who carried an old bucket from Nantucket, just asking for a friend?
Yeah. Something like that. That kind of reminds me of Nantucket juices. They sell this pureed juice. It's called Nantucket Nectars. It was basically 2 guys that served fresh juice, and then they built a business off of that. And
I found the lyrics.
oh, great.
Or limericks?
A
Yes,
limerick.
yes.
There once was a
Yes.
man from Nantucket. Okay, go ahead.
There once was a girl from Nantucket who carried a battered old bucket. Whenever it rained, she sat pale and detained the drips that were dropped when she stuck it in. This is a bit rude. A lady who hailed from Nantucket had stuffed a run of bad lucket. She sure needed a break, cashed in her chips in to take the tables by storm in Pawtucket. My sweet lady friend from Nantucket found true love and wed a Kentucket. Oh, jeez. It was pure wedded bliss, lots of cozy and kisses, until sadly Canuck kicked the bucket. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, I think that's enough
Yeah, okay.
limericks for today.
Yes.
There is a man version.
All right. A brief intermission. And now we're back with your regularly scheduled content. Today, we are talking about Cuba. Why the fuck, you ask? Good question. Good question. Let's see. Let me just play the first one here. So we've decided to go all out on Cuba because we've never forgiven Cuba. We've never forgotten the Bay of Pigs, a failed coup and a takeover.
The United States is blocking all oil from reaching Cuba, starving out 10 million people led by Marco Rubio. You gotta be a special kind of cuck to let a call you Little Marco and then be his bitch. You know, these freaky, so he probably like watching him go from Little Marco to Big Marco. This is Big Marco, formerly known as Little Marco. Seeing me in power makes him get big. It's a ruthless attack on civilians. Hospitals will be pushed to the brink of collapse. Food will rot. People will starve. Think Gaza. Textualizing all of this, Venezuela was supplying a lot of their oil to Cuba. Shit ain't new. For 60 years, official U.S. policy has been starve the people, create humanitarian crisis in order to force regime change in Cuba. Keep in mind, this shit has been condemned at the UN for the last 60 years by damn near everyone except the U.S. and Israel. Treacherous twins. You my twin, you my treacherous little twin. That's how the U.S. and Israel be looking at each other. Now, cue the anti-Castro shit in my comments in 3, 2. See, the fact that all the anti-Castro shit comes from a bunch of MAGA-ass Cubans should tell you what the you need to know in the first place. Your opinion is invalidated, my brother. Now they ass getting deported, which is crazy. I'm sorry, but that is crazy. I'm just saying, if you're able to admit that the United States is oppressive domestically and globally, then you should reassess the way that you've thought about those the U.S. has painted as dictators and terrorists, i.e. Castro, Gaddafi. I'm gonna get a lot of feedback saying socialism doesn't work. Bitch, capitalism makes it not work. Let me give you an example. Say you decide your family is gonna be vegan. You're gonna grow your own food, be more healthy. I work in the cattle farming industry. So I kill all the plants in your garden and I just start placing hamburgers all over the place, strategically. Prime ribs, filet mignon. So your kids start revolting. Next thing you know, y'all back eating meat that I supplied to you. Did veganism not work? Or am I just a piece of shit that wanted to sell you hamburgers? Free Cuba, man.
Yeah, it makes me think back to all of the the dissidents and the people that were fighting against Castro. Remember, he kicked all those people out and they ended up in Florida. It makes me rethink who those people actually were. These were not freedom-loving Cubans. These were people who they were, first of all, a lot of them were they owned corporations. They were involved in illicit drug trade. They were involved in the mafia, their version of the mafia. They were connected to the military, and so they're like, you know what? Oh no, or the fascist regime that was there before. So they're like, you know what? We want you gone. Go. We don't want any part of you. Go away. So those people that got kicked out, their children and grandchildren are now the MAGA-loving Republicans, the MAGA-loving, Trump-supporting Cubans. You know the ones that get up and say, I will vote. I will vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, those people. And some of them are getting deported. That's the funny thing. They're getting deported. So
They're just getting what they voted for.
I mean, it is what it is. Next.
A shocking international incident is unfolding right now involving a deadly confrontation in Cuban territorial waters between Cuban authorities and a U.S. registered boat, and Cuba now says that they killed 4 on the U.S. speedboat and injured 6. According to a statement from Cuba's Ministry of the Interior, a speedboat registered in Florida was detected earlier today operating inside Cuban territorial waters. Cuban authorities say the vessel approached to within roughly 1 nautical mile northeast of the El Pino Channel before a unit of Cuba's border guard troops moved in to identify it, and that is when the situation escalated dramatically. Officials report that the crew aboard the U.S. registered speedboat opened fire on the Cuban patrol vessel as it approached. That exchange of gunfire left the commander of the Cuban vessel injured. Cuba's Interior Ministry says the confrontation resulted in 4 people aboard the foreign speedboat, the U.S. speedboat, being killed and 6 others injured. In a statement posted on social media, the Cuban embassy in the U.S. wrote, quote, as a result of the confrontation, at the time of this report, 4 foreign attackers were killed and 6 were wounded, again referring to those on the U.S. boat. The wounded individuals were reportedly evacuated and provided medical assistance. The speedboat has been identified as registered in Florida under registration number FL7726SH. Cuban authorities say the vessel was a violating boat that had entered sovereign waters without authorization, and in its statement, the Cuban government said, quote, in the face of current challenges, Cuba reaffirms its commitment to protecting its territorial waters based on the principle that national defense defense is a fundamental pillar for the Cuban state in order to protect its sovereignty and the stability in the region. Investigations are ongoing as officials work to fully clarify the circumstances surrounding this encounter. This is a rapidly developing situation with potentially massive diplomatic implications given the involvement of a U.S. registered vessel and escalating tensions between the U.S. and Cuba. The Cuban government is currently in a critical energy crisis due to the Trump administration's moves to block foreign oil shipments to the country. As of now, it's unclear what this U.S. boat was up to. Was it random people? Was it CIA? There's a whole lot of speculation right now, but few answers. We're going to keep following this story, so spread the word and follow for more.
Turns out there were a bunch of fuckwits on that boat that charged Cuba. A bunch of stupid assholes. What did they think was going to happen? We're going to get to that story in a little bit. We've got a few articles on it. Next.
Let me guess.
Facts about Cuba in under 60 seconds. There are shortages of food, medicine, and fuel. Cuba relies on imports for about 60% of its energy, mainly from Venezuela and Mexico. Shipments from Venezuela stopped in January after the US attacked and captured their president Nicolas Maduro. Shipments from Mexico stopped in February after Trump signed an executive order threatening sanctions on any country selling oil to Cuba. This cuts off fuel supply for Cuba's electrical grid, which was already in poor shape. Blackouts have been standard for many Cubans even before the oil blockade. Gasoline is being rationed, and Cubans could be waiting months for one tank of gas. Cuba's main airport in Havana warned that it will run out of jet fuel, along with other airports in the country. Canada's major airlines have suspended flights to Cuba, and the government is advising against non-essential travel to the country. Canada is Cuba's largest source of tourists, according to the federal government. And tourism is in trouble. In 2024, Cuba had 2.2 million visitors. That's down more than 50% from 2018. And that's
Yep, just keep on pummeling and crushing Cuba because, of course, that's what we do best. Next.
Here's how the U.S. manufactured the crisis in Cuba. Cuba is incredibly important to politicians in Washington, D.C. That's because of the Cuba lobby, one of the most influential ethnic foreign policy groups in the U.S. Despite the Cuban diaspora making up less than 1% of the U.S. population, experts say the Cuba lobby punches above its weight. It's second only to the pro-Israel lobby, another group with a strong Florida base. U.S. politicians have championed their cause and cashed their checks for decades. The lobby was founded by elite Cuban exiles whose property had been seized by the revolution, and it seeks to dismantle the country's socialist system.
Cuba will be failing pretty soon.
The United States is isolating the Cuban regime.
Cuba see, Castro no.
The Cuba lobby is concentrated in and around southern Florida's Miami region, home to over half of all Cuban Americans. For years, the lobby has been effective at mobilizing voters, especially in swing states like Florida, where the majority of Cuban Americans lean heavily conservative. That influence helps explain why the Republican candidate Trump made the switch in 2016 from wanting to end the embargo.
I say after 50 years, it's enough time, folks.
To prolonging it. Now, he's doubling down. Trump has threatened tariffs against any country that exports oil to Cuba, which he claims is a stronghold for, get this, Hamas and Hezbollah.
I mean, he may as well have thrown in that you had the Loch Ness Monster in Cuba as well. An executive order, even by Trump's own high standards, replete with falsifications.
Historically, the Cuba lobby has had access to the highest level of U.S. politics, allowing it to exert influence directly on decision makers. Take Marco Rubio, a Cuban-American champion of U.S. intervention. He's currently Trump's Secretary of State and is leading the government's latest squeeze.
We would like to see the regime there change.
Even before Trump's decree, Cubans faced daily blackouts, food scarcity, and a critical shortage of medicine as a result of the U.S. embargo. You can trace that story back to 1952, when Fulgencio Batista ran a failing presidential campaign and launched a military coup instead. The U.S. supported Batista by recognizing his brutal and repressive government. Fidel Castro came to power in 1959 after a revolution ousted Batista. Thousands of Batista's loyalists fled the country for the U.S., and many landed just 145 kilometers away in Florida. Primarily upper class and wealthy, many of the people who first immigrated were established professionals like business leaders, doctors, and lawyers. Castro executed or jailed many Batista loyalists who remained. At that point, U.S. businesses dominated Cuba, controlling 80% of Cuban utilities and about 40% of its sugar production. Castro nationalized all of it. U.S. politicians decided to punish the country through its people, cutting off resources in hopes that it would provoke a revolt. But that didn't happen, so they kept squeezing. For years, most of the countries of Latin America and the rest of the world have staunchly opposed the U.S. blockade. And now, with Trump's latest tightening attempts, the UN says Cuba is on the brink of total humanitarian collapse.
Which is
Good old
absolutely
US of A.
disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like we were talking about the other day, what about all those poor people in hospital? No, all those innocent people that are in hospital.
Yeah, those are
That
unfortunate
need,
casualties. They're
you
expendable.
know, it is absolutely disgusting that Trump is honestly saying this is a friendly takeover. This is not friendly. This is 100% authoritarian dictatorship.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, and this
Trump
is
needs to be removed.
yeah. I don't know how we're going to clean this up, even if we do win the midterms. This is a lot of mess. It gets worse. But did you notice that, that Fidel Castro, he kicked out all of the loyalists, people that were going to continue wreaking havoc in the country. It was always the rich and the powerful. Always. Always.
Isn't
the
it
ones
always?
who lived above the people, the ones who,
Well, of course it's
they were a law unto themselves.
well, of course it's always the rich and powerful ones. They've got money to burn. They haven't really got anything to lose, unlike the rest of us working class
And then
people that've got
America
everything to lose.
controlled 80% of its energy utilities. We controlled that. No wonder they wanted us out. No wonder. I get it now.
Our administration is going to starve Cuba. That's what they're doing. They put a blockade up for fuel January 9th. We are now on, February 17th? Their fuel is running low. And they told other countries if they step in to help that they will sanction and tariff them, basically threatening them to go and help the Cuban people. And this is a huge problem for me because their entire industry runs on fuel, and another country has just decided you can't have any more. They can't power their businesses. They won't be able to power their hospitals. They won't be able to make sure medicine gets to where it needs to go. They won't be able to pick up people in an ambulance or ride people in a bus to where they need to go to work. Power outages will happen more frequently and possibly for longer due to the fact that they don't have fuel. We are starving a country. Our country is not talking about this enough because some people are hoping that it's going to enact democratic change. It's not. You know what this does? This, historically speaking, things like this make a country angry. Those people will grow up and be angry at our country and angry at our civilization. And people don't grow up to love us when we starve them out of their house and home. It's not a good look, but we're doing it.
I mean, it's not hyperbole.
Yeah.
Look behind me.
It's not.
Look at what we're doing. Look at all that trash
I have a question.
piling up. Yeah.
I have a question. So, do you know if Trump and his despicable regime of cult clowns decide to go ahead and keep punishing Cuba, what are Trump and his cult clowns going to do when Cuba cancels the what do you call it? They refuse to lease Guantanamo Bay to them any longer.
I think, that first of all, I think we're holding on to Guantanamo Bay despite Cuba input. It's like we took that portion of land and we've declared it ours. I don't know the whole history of Guantanamo Bay, but it's under U.S.
US pays rent.
Oh, we do.
To rent out Guantanamo Bay.
And we're paying it to the Cuban government.
Yes, paying it to the Cuban government under Fidel Castrado or something.
So we've already got there's already a military presence there. They can, I'm not sure exactly how many troops are stationed on Guantanamo Bay. I don't think it's a sizable army. Yikes.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah,
wild.
they do rent it. So what they're going to do if if Cuba decides to cancel the lease on Guantanamo simply because they cannot keep it running because there's no gas to keep the place running.
The sad thing is, I don't think we're going to get, even if they canceled us and said, get out, I don't see us giving up that patch of land. I really don't.
I don't think they'll have a choice. And if push comes to shove and like Trump and his clown cart administration do push it to the point where Guantanamo Bay can't function, what's Trump and his clown posse going to do if Cuba's like, well, you deal with the prisoners from Guantanamo Bay because we can no longer keep this facility running because we don't have the resources to keep it running any longer. So these people, these prisoners, are you a problem?
Well, see, that brings up another interesting question. Where does the power come from at Guantanamo Bay? I don't see it coming from anywhere else but the Cuban power grid. Oh my God.
Exactly.
Holy
no, this is what I mean.
shit.
I have legitimate questions of what's going to happen. Yeah. Can you understand what I'm thinking now? Can you understand what I'm thinking?
It took me a while. Yeah. Holy shit.
Trump and his clown cart administration are basically shooting their own foot. They are basically shooting their own foot by putting restrictions on Cuba, where there is prisoners in Guantanamo Bay. If that place shuts down and Cuba cancels the contract, there is going to be an influx of Guantanamo Bay prisoners being extradited to the US because there is no other place to put them.
And once they hit US soil, we're fucked. Because those people held at Guantanamo Bay, they are not given the same rights as, so we thought we were slick. We were housing all of the so-called would-be terrorists on that portion of land so we could say, well, they're not in U.S. territory, so there's nothing, there's no jurisdiction.
If Cuba doesn't have the fuel or resources to keep Guantanamo Bay going, they are going to have no choice but to shut that down if this embargo continues. And those prisoners that are in Guantanamo Bay are probably going to get extradited to the US because they're going to be Trump and his clown cart cult's problem. This is the very definition of cutting your nose off to spite your face. This is the very definition of cutting your nose off to spite your own face. Trump and his clown cart posse are not even thinking clearly to think of the consequences of their actions. They're cutting off fuel that is not only affecting hospitals for people who are getting cancer treatments and other treatments that need the vital machinery to help them get better, but it's going to affect the prison systems, mainly Guantanamo Bay.
Have you ever seen the movie Saw?
This makes sense. Yes, I have.
So imagine getting out of, your feet are shackled to a wall, and so you cut your own foot off to escape the House of Horrors, and now you're bleeding to death. That is the picture that is forming in my mind when I think of...
The only difference is Trump and his administration are not only going to cut their foot off to try and save themselves, but they're going to eject themselves into a alternate reality where they land in a cannibal sort of pen. They're literally going to have to eat each other to try and get out of it. And I don't think they will, because they've made such an impossible situation with Cuba. They are not thinking clearly by going after Cuba, where they pay rent for Guantanamo Bay, and then they're cutting off resources to keep places like that going. Cuba might go, well, fuck you, let's just extradite all these criminals back to the US. You deal with them. We don't have the resources to do it anymore. These are valid questions that I have, sorry. Has that totally sent you down a rabbit hole? Sorry.
I think someone needs to check the Facebook page account of Guantanamo Bay and see how they're doing. I don't know. Has anybody made a call? Anybody called down there lately? What the fuck is going on? Well, in case you thought things couldn't get any worse.
Oh, yeah, and it does. Do you know the reason why Obama didn't shut down Guantanamo Bay years ago? Is because most of the prisoners in that place don't have proper paperwork. So if Trump gets Cuba to shut down and those prisoners get extradited from Guantanamo Bay to the US and they get loose in the wild, because they haven't got proper documentation, you may never catch them.
Well, they wouldn't just let them off on the shoreline. I mean, the worst case scenario is they go into some prison system somewhere. Hell, we've got concentration camps now for, supposed so-called illegal aliens. So now, I mean, they could just stick them there. I mean, wow.
A group from Miami tried to stage a terrorist attack on Cuba, and now multiple people are dead. Here's what you need to know. So early Wednesday morning, armed men on a boat registered to Miami tried to attack Cuba, and they failed. All thanks to Cuba's brave guards, the attack was stopped and the country's sovereignty was protected. Now, according to Cuba's Ministry of the Interior, the attack started this morning. A Cuban radar detected a boat entering the country's territorial waters without permission. The boat was registered in Florida with the number FL7726SH, and it came within 1 mile of the Cuban coast. Now, a small Cuban border guard unit with only 5 members went to identify the boat, and instead of talking, the crew on the foreign boat opened fire immediately. They shot and wounded the commander of the Cuban vessel. Now, this is a clear act of aggression from a group coming straight from the United States. Now, Cuban forces had no choice but to defend themselves and their country, and after a firefight, 4 of the terrorists were killed, 6 others were wounded, and despite being attacked, Cuban authorities rescued the injured men and gave them medical care and attention. Now, in a statement, Cuban authorities reaffirmed their sovereignty and commitment to safeguarding their country. Now, this attack comes as Cuba is facing one of the worst humanitarian crises as a result of the genocidal U.S. blockade on the country. No gas has entered the country since December, and the island nation is implementing extreme measures just to survive. This is a developing story, and I'll do my best to keep you updated as more information becomes available.
Yeah, so I can't wait to get to the speedboat, clown car speedboat. I'm telling you, they should have treated that speedboat the way we treat Venezuelan speedboats and fishing boats. Just blow it out of the water. Look at that shit. What the fuck?
¿Qué tiempo hace que no la recogen? La recogen cada 5 o cada de una semana a 5 días, pero continúan porque no hay tanque, no hay nada.
Mucho basurero. Y ahora con el problema del petróleo, más todavía. Yo no sé, sugiero que muchachos que no trabajan, ¿viste? O los presos que están, que los saquen a recoger la basura, yo no sé, algo, porque el basurero no para.
It has been 2 weeks since a certain country initiated a total oil blockade to Cuba. 2 weeks. And they have had no oil that has been brought in. And now they are out. They rationed, they shared, they cut out non-essentials, but it's gone now. And 11 million people are without power, and there is no end in sight. Think about what that means. 11 million people in the dark, 11 million people who have no ability to preserve their food. What does that mean for food insecurities, for spread of disease, for people who need medical care? I saw a video of a doctor from Cuba this morning that treats pediatric cancer patients, and he said absolutely. He has patients that are exiting this world sooner than they would have to because they are no longer able to give them the treatment that they need. This has been a goal of that country that initiated the blockade for a long time. They've been trying to undermine Cuba for a long time so that Cuba would fall and that country could swoop in and take over the pieces. And that's what's happening. And 11 million people are paying the price. Go love your neighbor.
How pathetic. Pathetic. You know? You can't let you just can't let the Cold War go. What's next? Are we going to take over Vietnam again? Because we lost the first time?
Oh, on a side note, do you want a really big laugh that is pathetically sad?
As long as it's a big laugh. I can't do medium laughs right now.
Okay. Trump thinks he deserves the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Yes, because of his extensive bravery in the field.
I nearly had kittens when I heard him saying that he thinks that he deserves a Congressional Medal. That's one of the highest honors, and he thinks that he should have it, but he's not allowed to give it to himself, he said.
Most Medal of Honors are given posthumously after the person is dead. I'll make a deal with you, Don. I will personally hand you the Medal of Honor, but you have to die first.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, you need to go
I don't make the rules.
Yeah, you need to go push up daisies with Rush Limbaugh.
You got to join Rush Limbaugh in that Never Never
special place.
Oh, by the way, did you hear the his State of the Union speech? Have you watched it all the way?
I watched it all the way, and I want 2 hours and 34 minutes of my life back.
You haven't seen this version. I don't care what version you've watched. You've not seen this version yet. Because this is a specialized version where all the lies are stripped out of the speech. Everything else is left in.
Oh, you're right. I have not seen this version.
Yes.
Color me interested.
So. Yeah, I was interested. Here goes.
My fellow Americans. And God bless America.
They should have left in the only thing that he was truthful about. There was only one thing that he was truthful about in that whole 2 hours and 30 minute speech. The only true thing that he said was the fact that America hasn't admitted any illegal aliens into the country. That is the only truthful thing that fucker said.
Well, you gotta you took him out of context. What he meant was, since I came into power and I closed the border, there have not been any. Yeah, I mean.
Okay, well played. Well played.
Well,
You
I
got
mean,
me there.
no. I mean, that's exactly what he said. And what's funny is his syphilitic brain probably thinks that's true.
Oh, he definitely does. He definitely does.
Yeah. Well, he can fuck off with that. I don't know if we've got 10 minutes left. Do we have time for some articles? Okay, I want to jump ahead to the speedboat. All the articles I was going to read, there's 5. They will be in the description, but I want to get to CBS News. Man killed on speedboat off Cuba, lived in the U.S. for 20 years, and had obsessive quest for Cuba's freedom. So that means he got here in what, 2002, 04?
Was he a Trump supporter? I bet he was.
By all means, yeah. The brother of one of the men who was killed after taking a U.S. registered speedboat into Cuban waters and allegedly opening fire on the country's border patrol said his sibling was fixated on the overthrowing of Cuba's government. There you go. I wonder where he got that idea. Misael Ortega Casanova, who did the Bossa Nova, brother of Michael Ortega Casanova, Bossa Nova, told the Associated Press that his brother had fallen into an obsessive and diabolical quest to free Cuba from its communist government. And I will vote for Donald Trump. Yes. Cubans in the United States and the Cuban Americans have long protested the current Cuban government. I wonder why. And accuse the island's leadership of human rights violation. Why? By kicking you fuckers out? Now, I'm telling you what, the Trump administration has laid all things bare. We now have seen the true side of the right-wing Republican Cubans. And these guys will burn the entire house down with all of us inside if their deranged minds thought that would bring about a right-wing MAGA utopia. They became so obsessed that they didn't think about the consequences nor their own lives. Casanova Bossanova said of his brother and the 9 other men who were aboard the boat. Unfortunately, there are survivors. The Cuban government said Wednesday afternoon that a speedboat registered in Florida had entered Cuban waters carrying weapons and 10 Cuban nationals who lived in the U.S. However, the White House confirmed to CBS, Fox News MAGA Light, CBS, on Thursday that at least one American was one of the 4 people killed by Cuba's Coast Guard after the occupants of the boat allegedly opened fire on the Cuban military. The news was first reported by Axios. Shit. Damn it, why didn't that show up in my feed? Because that would have been the first article I opened. Well, 4 people were killed and 6 others aboard the boat, which came from Florida, were wounded and arrested, according to Cuba's Interior Ministry. I almost said put them in Guantanamo Bay, but Americans still control that, so that would be pointless.
And if
so a group of Cuban terrorists and 1 American citizen. Yeah. Did you have anything to add?
I was just going to say again, because I'm going to repeat this till I'm blue in the face, and I'm also going to do a post on it. If Cuba doesn't have the proper resources to keep Guantanamo Bay going, I don't think Guantanamo Bay is going to be open for very long. And I do think Cuba should consider extraditing those prisoners, even though they don't have proper paperwork. And some of them have not even been charged because they don't have proper paperwork. So they're just hanging in limbo there. So
You know what?
I
That
wouldn't blame
place,
Cuba if they
it needs to be
expedite
shut
them.
down. Shut it down. I
It
don't care.
doesn't.
In fact,
But
shut it down. Cut off all electricity, water, everything. Just shut it all down.
I just want to point out that is the only reason that Obama wasn't able to shut the place down, because prisoners didn't have the proper paperwork, and
I hear that,
some
but
of them,
no attempt was
some
made.
of them weren't prosecuted because they didn't have either evidence or proper paperwork.
There you go.
It just
Okay,
needs to be shut
evidence.
down.
There it is. That's why they weren't. That's why nothing was done. There was no evidence to keep them, and we did it anyway. And because we fucked up, we don't want to admit it, so we're keeping them in limbo where there's no hope of getting out. None. They get no due process. The best they can hope for is a military tribunal of however they, take care of military combatants as well as non-military combatants.
Actually, I've just thought about it. Maybe Trump cutting off the gas so Guantanamo Bay is not able to run, so the prisoners get extradited back to the US, which they all would have to have a fair trial. And the ones that don't have evidence against them or the proper paperwork would probably be released. So it'll probably be better for the innocent ones that have been caught up in this mess in the long run. So maybe nobody says nothing to Trump about shooting his own foot with messing up the situation over in Cuba, with, as far as, everything.
All right, let me finish this article. According to the official and an incident report from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office in Florida, the boat's owner alleged that the vessel had been stolen by an employee. So, thievery wasn't even their boat. Unbelievable. A bunch of terrorists decided to oh my God. The group alleged. See, this is why it's so important to be rooted and tethered to reality. Because once you let your mind go down conspiracy theory rat hole, this is what ends up happening. You start bearing arms and attacking people you have no business attacking. I keep going back to Pizzagate because two people literally took up arms to storm that pizza place, the pizza parlor, because they were under the delusion that children were being tortured and killed in the basement of that pizzeria. Turned out to be complete and utter horseshit, but that's besides the point. It doesn't matter. Wow. Wait until you hear this. The group allegedly planned to carry out a terrorist attack on the island, the Cuban government said, and had assault rifles, handguns, Molotov cocktails, bulletproof vests, telescopic sights, and camouflage uniforms aboard the vessel. Wow. I mean, you might as well call this a right-wing Nazi militia. This is amateur hour. Cuba's Interior Ministry had said all 10 passengers had a known history of criminal and violent activity. Boom. There you go. The U.S. official confirmed to CBS Foxlight News that some of those who were on the boat have criminal records. Why were they in the country? Why did the Trump administration allow these terrorists into the country where they were allowed to steal a speedboat and literally start a war with a sovereign nation? The speedboat was approached by a border patrol boat and opened fire on it when that's what the Cuban government said. The border patrol returned fire, killing 4 people, wounding the other 6 passengers. The 6 wounded passengers were arrested and received medical assistance. Should have dropped them from a helicopter right in the middle of the ocean. Fuck these people. Remember the right-wing MAGA trolls were talking about making jokes about helicopter rides. Yeah, why don't we do it for these people? These fucking terrorists deserve it, do they not? Quote, Cuba will defend itself with determination and firmness against any terrorist and mercenary aggression against its sovereignty and national stability. This is from President Miguel Diaz-Canel. Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio said Wednesday that the U.S. government does not have any other information besides blah, 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 blah. We don't care. We're going to find out exactly what happened. Well, okay. Yeah, shut the fuck up. Tensions between the United States and Cuba have been escalating recently, with Trump putting new sanctions and tariffs on the Caribbean country into the operation to capture former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Cuba's government on Thursday identified the 4 who were killed. I don't need to read their names, blah, blah, blah. And then the other 6 don't really care. It had misidentified one of the men. Okay, we don't care. It's been cleared up. Cuban embassy in the U.S. Thursday. The 2 occupants, blah, 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 had been wanted by Cuba and were included in lists provided to U.S. authorities in 2023 and 2025 of people, quote, that have been subject to criminal investigations and are wanted by the Cuban authorities for their involvement in acts of terrorism. And they also allege that they enjoyed impunity within the U.S. territory. Why are we sheltering fucking terrorists? The worst of the worst. Hello? This is insane. They're all worried about the southern border at the border of Mexico. We've got a wide open border with these Cuban terrorists who are on a fucking wanted list being brought to the U.S. and allowed to just do whatever the fuck they want. Roam around. Steal a boat. Where did they get all those armaments? How did they buy all of that gear? How were terrorists allowed to purchase and own all of these weapons? These are things the Trump administration must answer for. This is horseshit. This is dereliction of duty. The Donald Trump administration has dropped the fucking ball. Dereliction of duty at best. This administration, it has got to be the most incompetent, corrupt, ridiculous doofus. This is doofy goofiness bullshit. Did you have something? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I wonder if any of them were involved in January 6th, and I wonder if some of them were the ones that were wearing balaclavas that got away. Because I wouldn't be surprised if the Trump administration had hired them for January 6th.
Well, no, the majority of them weren't put on a wanted list until 2023, so this is well after.
Okay. Oh, okay. I mean, they could have participated in the domestic terrorism.
Oh, no. Well, they say, luckily for us, they saved all of their terrorism for overseas. Can you imagine if they, what if they had decided to target the Cuban embassy here on U.S. soil? What if they had decided, you know what? Let's just take out the Cuban consulate, the Cuban embassy, whatever. Let's just, instead of risking going, in open water, let's just attack that. What if that had happened? What then? I swear, we have got the worst of the worst running at the levers of power in this country. Clown car, you got bug-eyed Cash Patel, the creep, filling his face with beer in Italy when he's supposed to be on government duty, when he's supposed to be on duty, on government business. What the fuck are you doing? You're letting these Cuban terrorists run amok and do whatever the fuck. I wonder how many other people, how many other Cuban terrorists there are in this country. I think we need to open up that can of worms. Let's take a look.
I agree.
Let's take a look at that watch list Cuban provided. I wonder what that looks like. I wonder how many other names are on that list and how many of them are over here in our country.
Maybe that's what ICE could do. ICE could go around them up instead of innocent people.
That's interesting. I wonder how much ICE activity is even going on down in Florida. You know what I mean? But what the fuck do I know?
On a side note, I have a new book proposal for you.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do. So, you should check out
this one here?
Dorothy Heights. Dorothy Heights. Open wide the freedom gates. It even got a passage from Maya Angelou in there. She is.
What's it called?
Dorothy.
Open wide the gates.
Open wide the freedom gates. Open wide the freedom gates. Now, Dorothy Height is like the godmother of the civil rights movement. She was the lady in the background that actually made things happen. She is responsible for why women are able to vote. She is not talked about enough in Black history. Well, she is talked in Black history, but people outside of that don't know much about her, and she deserves recognition for the good things that she has done, the things that she worked hard to do, the things that the Republicans are damn trying hard to undo.
See if I can.
Because more white women need to realize how hard Dorothy Heights worked just so every woman has voting rights. She was a pivotal sort of person in the civil rights movement as well. I mean, she was at that speech with Martin Luther King Jr. I dare to dream.
I have a dream speech.
Yes.
Here we go. Open wide the freedom gates. You can get it $5.99 Kindle, hardcover $18, paperback $6. There you go. Man,
they don't do it on audio at the moment, so I'm gonna get the Kindle version.
You know, I'm sure there's an audio version of this floating around. Because this is an older book. This is the latest this could be is 1990s, maybe early 2000s, because Maya Angelou was still alive and she wrote the foreword to this book.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, there it be. But yeah, I've been on an audiobook kick for a while now, since summer of 2025. I shut off all the news podcasts that I had been listening to, and I'm like, I'm never going to get to the books that I've been thinking about, talking about, getting to. I finally got through this book of all books. Can you believe this? Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States of America. I got the audio version of this book. And
Is that the one you've been reading on the show?
Well, yeah, I started reading. I got to the 6th chapter, and then I'm just like, so
yeah. Guys,
listen.
let's get this on record. Skeptically has read this book without us. He has left us hanging. He has left us hanging on the show and not read it to us, and he has listened to the entirety of that book by himself.
Boulder Dash.
Yeah, we should sulk at him.
Unfair. Completely unfair. You know, and the thing is, I have since then, I listened also to the Black History as Fuck by Marriott something. I've gotten the name confused. But that was the sequel. That was the sequel to, I think, to Howard Zinn's book. And then there was a couple of others, White Rural Rage and Freedom's Dominion, which were, Black as Fuck History by Marriott.
Michael Harriet?
Michael Harriet. There it is. Yeah, I kept saying Michael and Harriet together. Michael Harriet, also known as Marriott. No, so yeah, I got his book through the audio, because the thing is, I cannot sit down and read. I am literally surrounded by books, and I don't have the time to sit and read, but I can listen to it if there's an audio version of it available. I mean, this is sad. I got 2 Bob Woodward books that he wrote during the first Trump administration, still sitting there collecting dust. And I found 3 Rachel Maddow books that are in audio format. I haven't listened to them yet. I did find a few Bob Woodward books on audio. They're in my queue, so I've got like 6 audiobooks that are waiting for me. I'm like trying to get through them before they expire. I got 2 of them that are due in 9 days, so I'm like, oh no, son of a bitch. But I've been good. I haven't let a single one expire. Usually I'll finish it within 3-4 days. So yeah, buddy. I have to do audio. I can't. I wish I had the time to sit and read. But in this capitalist hell, MAGA hell we've made for ourselves, we, white people, have made for ourselves, I can't do that. Very few people have time to sit, read, and contemplate. I think it was Lenny Bruce, the comedian, who said, I don't fear differing opinions. I fear people who have too many opinions and don't even have the time to sit and consider whether there's any truth to them. That's wild. Because everybody's chasing, everybody's, trying to keep their nostrils above water because there's no help for you. You fall behind. If you get sick, there's nobody coming to save you. Unless you can, depend on the charity of strangers, GoFundMe or Give, Send, Go. It's like, what a fucking hellscape we have. What a fucking hellscape. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you all next week if I even have a voice. See if I can get rid of this cold.
I hope so.
I do too.
I hope that you manage to recover this weekend and by Monday that you feel totally better. I hope everybody else has a lovely weekend.
And now we might be at war with Iran thanks to Israel. That's another topic. We'll get to that next week. There, I had to open up my big mouth. Anyway, I gotta go before my voice gets any higher.
I just got Black as Black History. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you for joining us. Have a good weekend, everyone. Mwah.
Why'd you leave the piece up on the table? Here you go, create another fable. You wanted to grab a brush and put a little makeup. You wanted to act disgusting with the shake up. You wanted to. Why'd you leave the piece up on the table? You wanted to. I don't think you trust in my self-righteous suicide. I cry when niggas deserve to die. In my self-righteous suicide. I cry when niggas deserve to die. Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. Father, into your hands, why have you forsaken me?